On behalf of the staff and the Board of Directors of the Genesee County Land Bank Authority, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our first State of the Land Bank Address. I'm Renetta Speed, Community Relations Manager at the Land Bank. This evening, I have the honor to serve as the Mistress of Ceremony for tonight's event. The Genesee County Land Bank's commitment to the community has been our highest priority. In stabilizing neighborhoods, fighting blight, fostering home ownership, and putting properties back into productive use. This is our first State of the Land Bank address, but it will not be our last. It is imperative to us to keep the community apprised of our accomplishments, the challenges we encounter, opportunities for partnerships, and the work we perform daily on your behalf. Tonight, we will explore the history of the Land Bank and introduce you to our new leadership that will share the exciting direction that the Land Bank will be moving towards in the future. Thanks for joining us. As a former county commissioner, I have had the honor to be involved with our land bank since its creation in 2004. I knew at the time when then County Treasurer Dan Kildee shared the concept of the land bank with me, it would be a vital and indispensable tool for the Greater Flint community, which it has been and will continue to be under our new leadership. These past 16 years, as you will learn, the Land Bank has had a proven track record, so much that other communities, namely 169 other land banks throughout the country, have used our land bank as a model to emulate. Under our new leadership, we will continue to be the country's model by uplifting, enhancing, and transforming our community with residents at our side. To learn more about the Land Bank's journey and the engineer behind the creation of the Genesee County Land Bank Authority, the visionary who made it all possible, tonight you will be hearing from U.S. Representative for Michigan's 5th Congressional District, Congressman Dan Kildee. We thank you, Congressman Kildee, and appreciate everything that you do for the Greater Flint community. Thanks to his leadership in Congress, we are better equipped to do our work on behalf of the citizens of our community. But before we hear from Congressman Kildee, we will begin with greetings from another great public servant, also very committed to our community, Deb Cherry, the chairperson of the Land Bank's Board of Directors and Genesee County Treasurer. Please join me in welcoming her at this time.
On behalf of the board and staff, I'm pleased to announce that the state of the land bank is strong despite the many challenges that we faced associated with COVID-19 pandemic and the conditions of vacancy, blight, and abandonment that our community has faced over the past few decades. The land bank has played a crucial role in accepting the inventory of blighted and challenged properties after we go through tax foreclosure, directing grant resources to address challenges on those properties, and when possible, putting those properties back to productive use. We could not do the work we do without our valuable partnerships with community-based groups, including Genesee County, the City of Flint, and all the local governments in Genesee County. We are also grateful to the work of Habitat for Humanity, Communities First, LISC, Metro Housing Partnership, the Neighborhood Engagement Hub, and the many other nonprofits, churches, and community groups that support neighborhood revitalization and are central to the work that we do. I also would like to thank our funders for supporting the work that we do also. Of course, C.S. Mott Foundation, the Ruth Mott Foundation, City of Flint, HUD Community Development Block Grant, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, University of Michigan Youth Violence Prevention Center, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Thank you also to the many organizations and partners from churches to nonprofits and community groups, working with us through our Clean and Green program. We couldn't address the work of so many organizations and the cleaning up of neighborhoods throughout the city if it weren't for those groups. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Congressman Dan Kildee. Dan was instrumental in passing legislation that allowed for the formation of land banks in Michigan. He formed the Genesee County Land Bank, and as U.S. Congressman, he's helped to bring in millions of dollars for Flint and Genesee County, including $67.5 million in hardest hit funds to complete nearly 5,000 demolitions. Thank you so much, Dan, for your help.
Hi, this is Congressman Dan Kildee, and it's really good to be with you. I wish we could all be together, but obviously in the times we're in right now, we have to do all of this virtually. But I'm really grateful that you've given me the chance to be a part of this event. As you know, I have a really close association with the Genesee County Land Bank. We're taping this actually right here in the Land Bank building, which I helped to develop. We started this some time ago. I was the county treasurer. I was elected back in 1996. And in 1999, the tax laws changed, and county treasurers were suddenly put in the position to be able to take control of all these vacant and abandoned properties. And the idea, of course, as you all know, of the land bank was to try to come up with a rational way to dispose and reuse these vacant, abandoned, distressed property. We always have to point out, I think we continue to have to point out, that while the land bank, obviously deals with this really difficult problem, it's not the cause of the problem, it's not the source of the problem, but for the first time since land banks were formed, we have an entity that can take on this difficult challenge and not have literally thousands of people from around the country and around the world having control of properties right in our own community. So back then, that's what we decided to do. We decided to create an entity that would allow us to make good decisions about the use of land, knowing that coming with that is a lot of problems, a lot of headaches, a lot of responsibility. But the idea was that the community would benefit from it. And so I'm really grateful for the work that you do. I'm particularly happy that Michael Freeman has joined the Land Bank as the executive director. I've worked with Michael for a very long time, working on these sorts of issues. And so it's great to see him come really full circle back to leading this organization that he's been so much a part of creating a movement around land banks in general. As we know, land banks can do lots of things. Deal with blight, clean up vacant, abandoned property like you do, spur development like we've done over the years, whether it's the Land Bank Center or the Durant or the Barrage or even rescuing the Great Lakes Tech Center from the wrecking ball. There's lots of ways to intervene, but of course the most important work that a land bank does is dealing with blight in neighborhoods, cleaning up vacant and abandoned structures, demolishing those that can't be preserved, and then using those that can to develop more options for affordable housing. So you do great work, and I'm really proud of the legacy that so many of us that were involved in creating this now see being lived out through your work every single day. I continue to work on this issue. In fact, in Congress now I have legislation to strengthen the land bank network around the country by funding a land bank network which will allow for the sharing of best practices, new ideas, all the things that we did at the very beginning. We will be able to formalize with this legislation. So it's bipartisan legislation. I look forward to it becoming law in the near future. And along with that, the much needed financial resources to support the work that you do. So I just want to again say thank you. I appreciate all the great work. So many of you are still here that we were working with back when we started. And again, especially want to give gratitude to Michael and the whole team. Thanks for what you do. I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you, Treasurer Cherry, and thank you, Congressman Kildee. As we continue with tonight's agenda, I am elated to introduce our new Executive Director of the Genesee County Land Bank, Michael A. Freeman.
Hello. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Michael Freeman. I'm the Executive Director of the Genesee County Land Bank Authority. I've been serving in this capacity since May of 2020, and what a challenging time it's been. But it is an honor and a privilege to be here with you and to talk a little bit this evening about what we're doing here at the Land Bank, what we have accomplished, and what we plan to do in the future. I'm a lifelong resident of Flint and Genesee County. My family actually came here 164 years ago from Ireland as immigrants, and this has been our family home. And I guess that's part of what makes me passionate about the community and why I will not give up on Flint and Genesee County, because this is my home. And I've worked here in community and economic development for the past 26 years. And that's why I think I'm well positioned to lead the Land Bank into the future. I believe I have the professional perspective to lead the Land Bank, as well as the perspective as a resident. What frustrates you frustrates me. This is indeed a heavy lift, and what we need to do moving forward. It didn't happen overnight. We've had an economic crisis and job loss. We've had population loss. We have absentee property owners who have abandoned their properties and have been a blighting influence in the neighborhood. We've had social and racial inequity in our community. We have compromised and aging infrastructure, and we have a shrinking tax base, which makes it very challenging for us to provide the services which are required to mitigate blight and to make our neighborhoods better. So indeed, we need to work together, and this is really critical. So in moving forward, I'd like to talk to you a little bit through a PowerPoint presentation about what we've done in the past, what we're currently doing, and the direction we're moving into the future. And with that said, let's move into this PowerPoint presentation. So with these challenges in mind, I'd like to talk to you about the way that the Land Bank has been addressing the challenges in our community and the programs that we've come up with and the impacts that we've made. If you really look at the goals of the Land Bank and what we want to encourage, it's blight removal, it's home ownership, and it's the responsible reuse of properties. We're not an auction house. We want to give or dispose of properties to people who are going to do great things with them and make our neighborhoods whole again. So our mission is to restore value to the community by acquiring, developing, and selling vacant and abandoned properties in cooperation with stakeholders who value responsible land ownership. So we are looking to partner with organizations and to work with people who will be responsible, who care about the community as much as we do. And this is important because if you really look at the state of foreclosure in our city, I mean, these slides, each purple dot represents a Land Bank slide, and this is in 2004 when we started. And then if you look 2006, 2010, 2012, 14, 16, 18, 2020, there's 13,382 properties in the city of Flint that we currently own. Why do we hold on to them? Because a public body controlling the future of these properties is much better than an auction where you don't know what's going to happen. Are these properties going to end up back in our portfolio? They'll go through tax foreclosure again, and they'll be in worse condition than they were before. It's critical that we stop this hemorrhaging. We stop, or at least try and employ any of our resources at our disposal to make our community better. If you want to know about our land and our inventory, since 2004, the county treasurer has transferred over 27,000 tax foreclosed properties to us. And so since 2004, we've been trying to find solutions and end game for each of these properties and put them in the best possible hands. Right now we're down to a portfolio of about 15,000 properties, but that's still roughly 28% of the parcels in the city of Flint. If you look at the property ownership, like what kind of properties we have, 71% of our properties are vacant parcels. 25% of them are residential properties with structures on them. 3% are commercial vacant lots, and 1% are commercial lots with structures on them. So in order to address all of these issues we have in the community, we need to promote affordable home ownership first and foremost because of the number of residential structures that we have. So in 2020, we sold 192 properties, and then we sold 9 houses that were renovated by land bank crews. Since 2004, we have actually sold 6,483 properties on land contract, and 2,400 of those are active. You know, we usually only do 5-year land contracts, so these are all fairly recently done. So we are building momentum on our land contract portfolio in the way that we can actually sell properties when banks will not. And more importantly, we're working with other organizations who are providing affordable housing. So these would be developers of affordable housing. You know, we've partnered now since 2004 on the development of 190 units of housing in our community. So we not only do work in residential and on residential properties for home ownership, but we also support commercial and economic development activities as well. So in 2020, we sold 3 commercial structures and 15 vacant lots to businesses and investors. However, since 2004, we've actually sold 424 commercial properties, 241 of those are vacant lots, and then 183 had structures on them. And many of those now have gone from vacant, blighted properties into productive use for economic development, serving neighborhood residents with the services that they require to keep their neighborhood strong. So we partner with community organizations as well and local units of government to achieve their land use goals, to provide affordable housing, to create public space for residents. And so a list includes like the City of Flint with their Choice Neighborhoods grant. We're doing the land assembly for the developer. We've supported the development of community facilities and nonprofit buildings like Fresh Flint. With Communities First, we've actually helped them develop their affordable housing products that you can see throughout the city of Flint. And what's really important is that we actually do more than just provide properties, but we look at the conditions which have led to these being obsolete. Many times this is environmental contamination. And so most people will look at a property and say the cost is too high to renovate this because I'll not only have to pay for the building and the construction, but I also have to figure out how to clean up that property so it can be used. The Land Bank has been working with the EPA, DEQ, other entities that are helping us remediate these sites so that we can actually clean them up before they're disposed of and given to the developer for the ultimate development. So that's another way the Land Bank has been very useful in promoting the reuse of property and ones that most people would never actually consider even taking on. So this project I'm really excited about. I was actually involved in this since the very beginning when I was the head of the Flint River Corridor Alliance and working directly with the Genesee County Land Bank, who did all the initial upfront work on the redevelopment of Chevy in the Hole, which is now called Chevy Commons. This project will actually provide green space and park amenities to neighborhoods actually all around the city of Flint. It's a beautiful site. I was an active user of that site during the shelter-in-place orders back in March. For 3 months, it kept me completely sane because I had 3 miles of park space that I could walk every single day. And it's the transformation is remarkable. I'm very excited to announce that this project will be completed in spring of 2021 with its final phase of construction taking place. So I'm excited to use this space. Everybody in the city of Flint needs to check out Chevy Commons. So vacant land reuse, we sell vacant properties to adjoining property owners so that they're maintained and they're cared for, and hopefully one day will be joined with their property to increase their lot size. In 2020, we actually sold 211 vacant lots. Unfortunately, we're a little bit behind due to the pandemic. Our sales department actually had to stop operations for a period. So we have roughly 1,000 applications that we're trying to get through right now, but we're going to continue working on that. Now, since 2004, we've actually sold 3,200 lots to adjoining property owners. So that means 3,200 properties that now will be maintained and managed by private households in the city of Flint. We also do leasing of properties. For whatever reason, if an individual doesn't want to purchase or take on the property, we will lease out that property for up to 5 years for just $1. And during that time period, they can do any number of innovative land maintenance strategies. Some people do flower gardens. Some people just keep it as a simple lawn. So, really, we're open to whatever creative solutions that you might have on these properties. So let's talk about vacant properties and maintenance in the city of Flint. Did you know that if of all vacant properties, not just land bank properties, but all the vacant properties which are problematic in our community, where you have high weeds and it's in need of mowing, if those 20,000 properties roughly that if we were to try and mow and maintain as a city, as a community, each of those properties one time per month during the growing season, that would cost $7 million. So additionally, if we were to try and board and secure every single vacant structure within the city that needed to be boarded, that would be an additional $845,000. Those dollars just aren't there. Our properties that we have don't come with money, and then the city, within their general fund and their coffers, they don't have those dollars either. So we have a big problem in the community that is as frustrating for us as it is for you. Now, what we have done is we have allocated $2 million of funds that we have raised and generated to support property maintenance. This would be our crews as well as the Cleaning Green program. So I'll talk about what our vacant property maintenance program looks like. During 2020, our land bank crews consisted of 35 local crew members that were trained and employed by the land bank. And they actually mowed 17,000 vacant properties in the city of Flint. And they also boarded and secured more than 500 vacant structures. A real impressive fact is that our maintenance crews actually removed more than 750 tons of debris from vacant properties. That's 1.5 million pounds of debris. So our people are out there and they're doing incredible work. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about the Cleaning Green program. This is our community-based maintenance program where we hope to support innovative community groups in cleaning, greening, and beautifying otherwise vacant land in Genesee County. So let's talk a little bit about what they were able to achieve. We had 58 community-based organizations participating in 2020. Now, mind you, this program had to be somewhat modified because of COVID-19 and social distancing requirements, but we could not be happier with the work that they were actually able to do. So during the 2020 Cleaning Green program year, they were able to mow 22,000 times during one season. Now, let's talk a little bit about the impact of the work that Cleaning Green does on crime. We actually worked with the University of Michigan to look at our Cleaning Green areas, where they were being maintained, and what was the effect on crime rates. We found that there were 30% fewer assaults in Cleaning Green areas than with areas that have abandoned lots and without community mowing. Furthermore, we saw a 40% decrease in violent crimes in these areas. So this is further justification for why we do the work that we do, because it not only is about keeping streets clean, but they're keeping them safer too. So the land bank actually has done a significant amount of demolition in the community. These blighted structures, as funds came available, we were able to do as much as we possibly could do. In 2020, we've demolished 317 blighted structures. However, since 2004, we've actually demolished 8,300 properties. So when you look at the number of properties in Flint that need to be demolished, now this just isn't our property, but it's actually properties that are privately owned. This is kind of the 4,706 properties, it looks like we have 30% of the properties are land bank listed for demolition, but there is no funding that exists for them. We have 35% of our properties are listed in poor condition. So they could be demolished, they could be renovated, but it would take a lot to actually do those renovations if they're in poor condition. But 34% of the properties that need to be demolished in the city of Flint are actually privately held properties. So right now, of the properties that exist, of these 4,706, 2,922 properties are currently owned by the land bank. And so if we were to try and demolish all of those today, it would require $41.6 million, which we currently don't have, unfortunately. But we will continue to try and work on finding those dollars, and hopefully through congressional appropriations like hardest hit funds in the future, we can actually start to deal with those properties as well. So I'd like to talk a little bit about this new allocation of funds that we just received from the C.S. Mott Foundation. We received $448,000 through their Focus on Flint campaign to demolish properties. So we asked ourselves, how exactly are we going to prioritize these properties? And which ones will we demolish? Because roughly this is going to be 30 to hopefully 35 properties that we can demolish with this allocation. So we went back to communities to determine, how do we pick, if you can only do 30 or 35. And so we actually had them provide us with input on their criteria, what residents would like to see us focus on. So we received about 400 responses, and then the responses were as follows. The most important thing is that we're taking down homes that are directly next door to occupied properties. Then we need to prioritize homes in areas where more people live and homes are occupied. Then we have to look at homes that are near schools. Then we need to look at homes that are burnt, homes that have fire insurance funds, homes near local parks, and then finally homes on or near major roads. In closing on this PowerPoint presentation, I'd just like to say we're really happy with the accomplishments that we've had. We have many more challenges, of course, in the future, but at least we're working every day to try and address those issues that are important to Flint residents, that are important to the residents of Genesee County, and most importantly, that improve the quality of life for everybody. So we look forward to partnering with you, to working with you, and being part of the solution here. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about the vision for the land bank. What is the direction that we're moving in? So first I'd like to talk about engaging the community. And I want to do this in two different ways. One would be through outreach and communication, getting the word out about what the land bank is doing, where we're going, getting input from individuals as well about that direction that we're moving into. I think that's critical, and it's something that if we don't, it's definitely a missed opportunity. Furthermore, I think within engaging our community, we have to look at the pre-existing efforts. What organizations are doing, be they nonprofit, neighborhood association, faith-based institution, what kind of initiatives have they already thought of, and how can the land bank actually support and help them to be more successful in the areas that they're working? I think that's just critical, and the land bank needs to be a partner with our community, with neighborhood associations, with all these organizations who are making change. The next thing that we need to do at the land bank is go through a really intensive strategic planning process. So I'd like to define our vision of the future based on your input. I'd like to engage all of our community residents, philanthropic partners, elected officials, anybody who has the same interest and desires as we do to make Flint and Genesee County a better place. I'd like to bring them to the table so that we can be relevant, so that we can do the work that needs to be done, not the work that we think needs to be done. And also, I think within our planning process, we have to make sure that we are honoring the plans that have already been created. We have a master plan in the city of Flint. I think it's crucial and essential that the land bank dovetail into that plan so that we know what is our part and what do we need to do and what has the neighborhood and what have community residents actually elected that we should be doing. Next, I'd like to continue to expand partnerships for redevelopment. We are already working with a number of developers, but I think that there are more opportunities to bring people into the fold to be part of the revitalization of our community. This will be done through targeted housing renovations. This will be done through new housing construction. And then also the land bank is willing and able to assemble properties for land redevelopment, that we can think about how do we incentivize these developers to come and to use these parcels and to bring them back to productive use. One thing that we definitely are interested in doing is dealing with environmental remediation. Many of the properties that we have come into our portfolio as contaminated properties. And so by our federal and state grant activity, we can look at cleaning up these properties and then offering them back into the market so that, you know, what was a detriment to the redevelopment then becomes an incentive for the redevelopment. And I think most importantly, we have to look at new investment and explore more opportunities to invest in neighborhoods. So one thing that we have to do is that we have to make sure that we are providing the housing opportunities that our community requires and that they need. So we're going to enhance our sales and our leasing programs as well so that we can deal with properties that have structures or that properties that are vacant that just need to be cared and maintained. I think we have to look at opportunities to help with community facility and public space, neighborhoods with strong community facilities, with public amenities, are more sustainable neighborhoods, and they're better places to live. And so the land bank can look at what is our role? How can we make that effort happen where currently it may just be a plan or a dream? I think it's critical that we continue our property maintenance program within the city. We have 13,500 properties. We did 17,000 mows. So that means that we were actually mowing more properties than we currently own. And, our people just don't stop when it's like, well, that's our lot and we mow it. If there are 3 or 4 more properties next to it that we don't own, we will go ahead and mow those as well. It's critical, we have 2,900 properties in our community that still need to be demolished. We have to continue looking for those resources. We did a tremendous amount of work with the Hardest Hit Fund. We demolished over 4,500 properties, but if that money or money like that isn't available in the future, we can't just throw up our hands and give up. It's critical that we look at new revenue streams and new ways to actually fund dealing with these dangerous, abandoned, and substandard properties. And I think that one of the most important things is that we need to be at the table with other organizations when it comes to the dealing with blight and abandonment. We are not the only ones. The city has been a tremendous partner and will continue to be our partner in blight elimination. And we're going to look at new strategies of working with them. We just received funding from the Mott Foundation to do a blight elimination task force, working with the city. And we're excited to see what direction that'll bring us into. But I think that at the end of the day, we can't do this without the neighborhoods and without residents. Government will never solve every single issue that exists in our community. So if we're mindful of that, we can think about ways that, and how do we partner with neighborhoods? How do we partner with residents? And how do we harness all of our power to deal with this issue that has plagued our city? So, in conclusion, I'd just like to say that the state of the land bank is strong. We are stable. We are willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. We have some of the most talented and competent staff I've ever met who really care about the work that they do. They care about the community. I'm honored and proud to work with them. And we are all on the same page as far as we need to re-examine who we are, what we're doing, and how we do our work. So I think as long as we keep that in mind, that you can always do better, you can always do more, you will always have a better team. And so I'm really excited at our future. I pray for everybody during this time of the pandemic, where it's been a challenge, absolutely, to do everything. and we've had to rely upon technology, but we're going to get through this, and we will come out of this stronger than we were before. So I thank you for listening this evening, of being part of this conversation, and there will be more. So I thank you. God bless you all. And I'd just like to now turn this back over to Ms. Renetta Speed, who will close us out and pay tribute to all of our tremendous participants in the Clean and Green program. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for that enlightening presentation. The Land Bank also has essential workers, and we cannot wrap up tonight's event without acknowledging them and their work. These individuals are the participants of our Clean and Green program, which is a community-based program and the heart of our community engagement efforts. To all of our 58 groups that participated in our Clean and Green program this season, thank you for an incredible year. We appreciate you, and we are proud and fortunate to have you on our team.
Yes, and thank you, Raynetta. We're so very fortunate to have all of the volunteers that helped to revitalize the city of Flint through the Land Banks and Clean and Green program, the Flint and Genesee counties. I also want to thank the new leadership at the Land Bank, the new Sales and Development Director, Alexandria T. Briley, my friend, and the wonderful new executive director that you just heard from, Mr. Michael Freeman. They continue to do great work, and they do a great job in servicing the community. So now is the time that I would like to give a musical tribute to the team of the Land Bank, and especially to the 58 Clean and Green groups that did not just stop because of the pandemic, but they kept working. And to those of you who are watching tonight and participating in the drawing to win 10 $25 gift cards, congratulations to tonight's winners. This year, as you know, we have been challenged and we have been going through in this pandemic. And we've been hit really hard, and everybody has been affected in some way. But the message tonight is just for you, that I pray that God will bless your house in this holiday season, and that God will continue to allow you to prosper in this season, and may you have a Merry Christmas. It is my prayer. Have you ever been broken, disheartened, young, misused and abused? Have we ever shed some tears, joy and pain? You've been through the fire and the rain. I am facing trials and fears. Here I stand with outstretched hands. Here in the Bible that we've all read, I put my hope. That's all I know to do. Put my hope in you, trusting that you, Lord, you're gonna see me through. Believe in that faith. That's all I know is the only way. Lord, bless my house as I bless you. Lord, bless my house as I bless you. I don't know who I'm talking to right now, but you may be going through some things right now. If it wasn't for God keeping you even in this pandemic, you wouldn't have made it this far. But I want to tell you this. Here I stand with outstretched hands, crying out to you, Lord. I need a refreshing. I'm empty, Lord. Got nothing else to give. My faith in you, I bound to be in your will. I put my hope. That's all I know to do is put my hope in Him. Trusting that you, Lord, you seeing me through. Believing that faith, that's all I know is the only way. Lord, bless my house as I bless you. Lord, this is my prayer. Bless my house as I bless you. For so many years now, we've been preaching and praying, telling the world about your goodness and your saving grace. I've seen you do miracles time and time again, and I pray to your Father, I need a helping hand. Lord, bless my house as I bless you. Lord, bless my house as I bless you. Oh, that's my prayer. I know somebody's worried and saying, Lord, am I going to get any further? Oh, as I go, as I move in and out, God, I need you to bless my house. Yes, but I'm lifting my hands to you, Jesus. Bless my house. Yeah. Oh, Lord, I need you to, Lord. Bless my house. Yes. Every day I pray, Jesus. Bless my children. Yes. I can't do nothing without you, Jesus. Bless my house. Yes. Oh, as you give me daily bread. Lord, bless my house as I know, God, you made sure that food was on my table. Bless my house as I bless you. Yes, Lord.